Greetings, friends. Tonight, I invite you to join me on a journey unlike any other. It is the account of my own travels through distant kingdoms and across vast, unfamiliar lands. I am Marco Polo, and what I witnessed beyond the borders of Europe, in the great courts of the East and along the ancient trade routes, is a tale of wonders, hardships, and discoveries few could imagine. If these stories of far-off places stir your curiosity, I welcome you to follow along, but only if you truly wish to see the world as I have seen it. And tell me, from where do you watch? At what hour does this tale find you? It brings me joy to know my words reach across lands and seas. So settle in, dim the lanterns, and let the quiet of the night guide us, as together we begin this voyage. I wake while the city still dreams. The room is dark, but the air already smells of salt and damp stone. Water brushes the walls below my window, a slow, steady breath that has rocked Venice since its birth. I lean out and let the cold air sting my cheeks. Somewhere in the maze of canals, a night watchman snaps his lantern shut, and the noise carries like a pebble dropped into a cavern. It tells me the hour has come. Father and Uncle Maffeo are on the landing stage. They speak in low voices to the porter, counting bales and chests by the feel of rope and knot. A single lamp hangs from a hook over their heads, turning the mist the color of weak tea. I watch them and try to see the men who crossed deserts many years ago. But in the swinging light, they are only shapes, tired, patient, and certain. Our galley waits at the mouth of the canal. Its mast rises higher than the roof tiles and points at a sky that is still more ink than charcoal. I can just make out the faint crosspiece where the lateen sail folds like a sleeping bat. A deckhand hums while he rubs wax into the ropes. The tune has no words, only 3 notes over and over, as if he's convincing the sea to stay calm. Mother stands behind me now. I did not hear her enter. She wraps a shawl across my shoulders and rests her hand on the back of my neck the way she did when I was a child with fever. We do not speak. If we try, the hush will break and flood the room with fear. After a moment, she presses a small object into my palm. A sprig of dried lavender bound with blue thread. For scent, she whispers, when every other thing around you is strange. I slip it inside the leather pouch that hangs under my tunic and feel its lightness against my chest. The first gull cries above the Grand Canal. The sound slices the dark like a blade. Lamps begin to glow along the Riva degli Schiavoni. Each one lays a trembling path over the water. Gondoliers in heavy cloaks untie their boats. The iron prows nibble at the ripples. I picture the gull's path beyond the Lido, across the Adriatic toward lands whose names taste new in my mouth: Corfu, Cyprus, Acre, Tabriz, Hormuz, and 1,000 more still hidden behind the curve of the earth. Uncle calls my name. His voice is cheerful, but I catch a crack in it. I turn from the window, lift my travel pack, and follow Mother down the narrow stairs. My boots ring on the stone steps. Each ring feels like sealing wax pressed onto parchment. No way back once it cools. Outside, the canal water slaps the hull of our smaller boat that will carry us to the galley. Father checks the knots one last time, then pulls me into a brief, rough embrace. His beard smells of cloves and the bitter wine he drinks to keep the chill from his lungs. "Ready, Marco?" he asks. I say yes, though my heart pounds like a smith's hammer. We push off. The oar dips, The prow glides, and the house where I learned to read, to swim, and to dream begins to slide behind a veil of grey. Mother raises a hand. I keep my eyes on her until the bend hides her from sight. The lagoon spreads wide. The eastern sky pales to the color of a fresh-cut peach. Somewhere beyond that peach-colored line lies the Silk Road, the court of the Great Khan, and the edges of every map I have ever seen. I take out the lavender, breathe its faint summer smell, and whisper a promise. I will come back and tell you everything. A dull bell rings from the church of San Giorgio as we tie our little boat beside the waiting galley. The morning mist is thick, and the bell sounds as if it is wrapped in felt. Deckhands move like ghosts, heaving sacks of biscuit and coils of hemp, their breath showing in short white puffs. The planks under my feet are wet with dew and brine. I test my step, one slip, and I would meet the water in my best wool tunic, an omen no sailor wants. Father taps the rail to catch the bosun's eye and signs for the gangway. Two men shove it across with a clatter. Up close, the galley is longer than any street in our parish, its hull black with pitch, its sides painted with faded saints whose halos have chipped in too many storms. I set a hand on the wood. It feels sticky and warm from the tar pot, but alive, as though it remembers every league it has crossed. A thin sailor with a broken nose hands me a linen tag printed with the number 5. "Your berth, young master," he says. His voice wobbles, either from drink or from standing watch all night. I tuck the tag inside my belt purse and follow him below. The ore deck smells of lamp oil, sweat, and something sour that might be fear. Benches run the length of the hold, each set over an ore hole large enough to swallow my fist. Blankets of rough wool lie folded like low hills. Above them, small wooden chests are lashed to beams with leather straps. My berth is the 5th bench starboard. I press a palm to the timber. Solid, but it shudders with every footstep up on the main deck. This is where I will sleep, eat, and dream for weeks. The sailor points to a tiny shelf fixed to the hull. "That is yours for personal items," he says. I place Mother's lavender sprig there first. The purple heads have darkened with the damp air, but the scent rises true. Behind it, I slide a thin journal bound in calfskin, a gift from Uncle, who says every mile not written is a mile forgotten. Sudden cheering erupts topside. I hurry up the ladder. A small crowd has gathered on the quay. Traders, cousins, curious children who woke early just to see us off. Father stands on the plank with arms out, palms skyward, reciting a traveler's prayer. When he names Saint Nicholas, patron of sailors, a ripple of voices answers Amen, and several women make the sign of the cross. The captain, a short man with shoulders like a smith, orders the mooring lines loosed. Rowers take their seats, hands white on the ash oars. With a grunt, they push. The oars bite the water. The hull lurches. A low, deep creak rolls through the ribs of the ship like the first yawn of a waking giant. From the stern castle, the city unfurls behind us in slow motion. Marble campanili, red tiled roofs, the lacework of bridges, all sinking into the pale gold that now spills from the east. Gondoliers pause mid-stroke to watch, their striped shirts a line of flags along the canal. I lean against the rail. Uncle joins me. "Breathe, Marco," he says. "Smell it well. You will not taste this lagoon air again for many years." I obey. The mix is familiar. Sea salt, algae, smoke from cook fires, a faint sweetness from bakeries already at work. I hold it until my chest aches, then let it out in a long, steady stream. The galley reaches the open water of the Lido Inlet. Waves slap the bows. The ship begins a slow rise and fall that robs my knees of certainty. A gull shrieks overhead, diving across our wake. Father laughs, pleased. A single gull for luck, he says. 2 is a quarrel. 3, a storm. As the lagoon slips away, we clear the oars and raise the lateen sail. Canvas billows, catching a wind that smells colder, cleaner, promising distance. Behind us, Venice shines for a moment, a city of polished copper in the newborn sun. Then mist swallows the towers, and only the faint cry of bells travels with us into the blue. The first full day on open water begins with a pale lemon light that slides over the deck planks like thin honey. A small breeze lifts the edge of the lateen sail. It smells of pine resin from distant forests and of something colder that must be the wide sea itself. My stomach still maps each slow rise and fall, but the worst dizziness has passed. I lean against the rail and watch oars dip in careful rhythm. Each blade enters without a splash, rises with a slick whisper, then hangs a moment, shedding pearls of Adriatic water that flash like quicksilver in the morning sun. Rowers keep time with a simple song. No words, only humming on one long note and a soft grunt when the oars bite. The sound settles into the wooden bones of the ship and into my bones as well. Father says a good crew can hum for hours and never repeat a tune, as if they steal new melodies from the gulls overhead. I close my eyes just long enough to feel the hum inside my chest and imagine that it is the ship's own heart beating. By noon we sight the green shoulders of Corfu, rising like a sleeping ox from the water. Olive terraces crawl up its flanks, and white villas blink in the sun. The captain orders the sail furled. Rowers pull us the last furlongs into a small cove where fishing boats already bob at anchor. A cluster of stone houses, bleached as bones, leans around a chapel bell tower. We tie up beside a skiff full of silver mullet. Their scales flash and then dull as they die, and I feel a strange sadness even though I have eaten fish all my life. We cast off at dusk. The sun sinks behind Corfu and turns its cliffs to dark wine. Rowers rest, the sail fills and the galley whispers forward. Stars break the velvet sky. Uncle leans on the rail beside me and names constellations: Orion the hunter, Delphinus the dolphin, and a twisting serpent I do not know. He explains how the serpent climbs the sky a little earlier each night when one sails east, a slow clock no king can hurry. The night sea is smooth until the third watch, when the wind shifts. Sailcloth snaps like a whip. Clouds slide in from the northwest, thick as charcoal dust. The water ruffles, then darkens to unfinished ink. A low whistle rises through the rigging. The boatswain orders oars shipped and yard arms secured. Lanterns are shuttered. Only a single horn lantern burns at the helm, glowing like a lonely ember. I taste copper at the back of my throat. Lightning splits the sky without warning. A raw white fork so close I smell the scorched air before the thunder lands like an iron gate slamming. The galley lurches, deck planks groan. Rain arrives all at once, sheets of it, harsh and cold, flattening the sea for one heartbeat before waves grow tall again. Sailors raise a roar to drown the wind, each man shouting a saint's name. I cling to a stay, eyes stinging. The lavender in my pouch turns damp. its scent blooming strong and wild, as though the flower fights the storm with perfume. I do not remember falling, only the hard meeting of wood and ribs. When I open my eyes, rain still lashes down, but the worst wind has run ahead of us. The captain shouts that the mast is sound, that St. Nicholas did not forget us. Rowers return to benches, backs bowed, and begin to pull the galley's head round to the southeast. The sea keeps a heavy roll, yet each rise and fall now feels measured, as if a furious guest has slammed the door and trudged away mumbling. At dawn, the sky is the color of tarnished copper. Broken clouds wander like defeated armies. A faint rainbow melts behind us. We inventory the damage. 1 split oar, 3 cracked water casks, a bruised shoulder for me. The captain thanks the crew, then sends men aloft to loosen the sail. Drops fall from the canvas like coins. They splash, and I imagine the sea reclaiming a debt. 2 days later, we sight Crete. White cliffs rise straight from indigo depths, streaked with yellow where sulfur springs trickle. We anchor in a quiet inlet fringed with cypress. Villagers meet us in coracles and trade olives, goat cheese, and a sweet wine that tastes of honey and smoke. A boy, no older than I, rows close and tosses a pomegranate. I catch it. Ruby juice leaks between my fingers. The boy laughs, pats his heart twice, a Cretan wish for safe travel, then sculls away. I wash the fruit in the sea and divide it with father, seeds popping like tiny drums between our teeth. The galley departs at first light. Crete sinks behind gentle swells. Dolphins race the prow, their backs slick steel in the sun. Sailors say that dolphins herald fair weather. An older oarsman with the missing teeth spits and adds, "Unless they turn north, then a gale follows." We watch the animals veer east, and he nods, satisfied. Superstition seems to run like a second set of veins beneath every sailor's skin. Nights lengthen as we reach deeper water. The moon rises fat and golden, painting a road of rippled light straight into our path. I sit on the stern castle, my blanket pulled high, and listen to the helmsman's low stories. Tales of sea saints, of mermaids who lure careless men, of ghost galleys crewed by those who died with curses on their tongues. He says the ghost ships move with no wind and leave no wake, but their lanterns glow green as marsh lights. I ask if he has seen one. He says, "Only in dreams," and smiles the thin smile of someone unsure whether that makes the story less true. On the 7th night, we meet a convoy of Genoese merchants steering west. Lantern signals flash, 3 short, 1 long, asking our port and cargo. The captain orders 4 short flashes in reply. Venice, China. The Genoese lights blink twice more, perhaps in amazement, then fade astern. I imagine their talk, mad Venetians chasing spices beyond the ends of maps. The Ionian Sea gives way to the Levant Basin. Water shifts from deep sapphire to a calmer, lighter blue that smells faintly of warm stone. We sight flying fish skimming the surface like silver darts thrown by unseen hands. Rowers cheer each leap. Father counts them as omens. 7 leaps for fortune, 9 for favor. We reach 11 before the shoal breaks apart. Cypress rises like a low cloud on the horizon, and soon the smell of pine resin returns, mingled with distant smoke of charcoal and beeswax. The port of Limassol appears, a jumble of tan stone and bright awnings that flicker like overturned bowls under the sun. We lower sail and ride gentle swell into the harbor. Mooring lines slap against bollards worn smooth by centuries of traders. Franks, Greeks, Arabs, Armenians, each leaving behind a strand of language and spice. While father haggles for fresh pitch and dried dates, I walk the quay. A potter shapes small oil lamps, pressing thumbprints that will remain long after flame and oil are gone. He gifts me one still soft from the wheel. I set it aside to dry and watch a black-robed priest bless a line of pilgrims bound for Jerusalem. They kneel. He dips an olive branch in seawater and touches each bowed head. The branch drips, leaving tiny halos on sunburned scalps. That evening, as we heave away from Cyprus, the sea is jade glass. The captain allows a single lamp at the prow. It casts just enough light to show the pomegranate stain still pink on my sleeve. I think of the monk's island soil, the lavender, the lamp, the shells of flying fish left on deck like scattered coins. These are becoming my map more than any parchment. Scents, sounds, and small gifts marking the road ahead. I fall asleep under an awning, the deck warm beneath my blanket. In dream, I walk a winding street that smells of saffron and camel hide. Somewhere in that street is a door that opens onto deserts I have never seen. Wind lifts the sand. It whispers my name in a tongue I do not yet know, but soon will. The galley stays 3 days in Limassol, so the shipwrights can scrape weed from her hull and mend a split strake left by the storm. Time moves more slowly on the island. The harbor is small, a shallow half-moon of sand and gentle surf. No tide pulls at the stones, and the water near the quay is so clear I can count the white ribs of an old wreck resting on the bottom, like the skeleton of a forgotten whale. On the first morning, I rise before father and walk inland along a lane lined with tamarisk trees. Cicadas drone in the branches, their rhythm matched to the soft pulse in my ears that still carries the beat of oars. The lane leads to a citrus grove. Green gold fruit hangs low and heavy, and fallen oranges glaze the soil with sticky perfume. A girl about my age gathers windfalls in a basket made of olive twigs. She greets me in Greek. I answer in broken scraps I learned from a sailor. She laughs, corrects my vowels, and hands me an orange no bigger than a fist. Its skin is thin. Bitter oil sprays my fingers as I peel. The flesh inside is sweet as honeyed wine. I eat in silence while she fills her basket. Then we trade names I will later forget. When she leaves, she presses a second orange into my palm and says, "For the road that has no trees." By midday, the market knots with sailors, pilgrims, and mule drivers. Canvas awnings flap in the mild wind, throwing squares of shadow that hop from stall to stall. A coppersmith hammers thin sheets into bowls. Each strike rings bright and high, scattering small birds that pick at grain underfoot. I pay 2 copper coins for a shallow cup etched with a wave pattern, thinking it will hold water on desert nights. At a spice booth, an Arab trader sights the faded embroidery on my tunic and guesses I am Venetian. He sifts blue lapis dust through his fingers and offers me a pinch. "For painting the sky in books," he says. The powder stains my skin deep indigo. He laughs and pours a thimble of rose water into my stained hand to wash it away. The scent clings long after the color fades. That afternoon, father and uncle climbed the fortress wall to meet port officials. I wander to the monastery beyond the olive terraces. Its stone is pale and cool, streaked here and there with veins of rust where rain has seeped. Inside, thick pillars hold up a roof dark with icon smoke. A single monk chants Vespers. The words echo like water in a cistern. Beeswax candles burn, their small flames steady, untouched by the breeze that slipped through an open door. At the far end, An icon of the Virgin is framed in silver. The halo reflects candlelight that trembles across her painted cheeks. I sit on a wooden bench and close my eyes. The chant, the beeswax, the faint scent of old cedar merge until the space feels like the inside of a shell. Silent, but for the sea that hums beyond its walls. When I return to the quay, the sky is turning amber. Shipwrights tap oakum between planks while a boy heats pitch in a clay pot. Dark smoke rises, smelling of earth and pine tar. Rowers lounge on the breakwater, telling tales of island spirits with eyes like lanterns who lead travelers to hidden springs. The tale teller marks each spring on the bare sand with his finger, then wipes the map away with his palm. So the Turks can never take it, he says. Supper is goat stew thickened with chickpeas and scented with cinnamon. We eat on deck, bowls braced between our knees, as the ship rocks gently in harbor swell. The captain allows a skin of Cypriot wine to be shared. It tastes of figs and smoke. After 2 swallows, my bones relax, and the shadows at the edge of the deck grow soft around the lantern. A sailor plays a small reed pipe. The tune climbs, then drifts down again, like a gull riding warm air. Night deepens. The moon, nearly full, lifts above the warehouse roofs and hangs silver roadways across the quiet bay. I lie on my back beside a coiled hawser and watch the constellations I practiced with Uncle. Orion, Delphinus, the Serpent. The Serpent is higher tonight, winding toward the pole. I wonder how many turns it must make before we stand beneath entirely new stars, unknown in Venice. On the second day, Father hires camels to carry fresh water from a spring in the Troodos foothills. I walk with the drivers, their bells jangling soft counter-rhythm to our footsteps. The path smells of oregano and sun-warmed rock. Lizards skitter across our shadows. At the spring, cool water spills over limestone into a stone basin, mossed green. We fill goatskins and lay them in the shade before heading back. One driver shows me a tiny silver charm in the shape of a fish. Keeps the evil eye from the water, he claims. He presses it to my forehead in jest, then pockets it again. That evening, a warm sirocco rises off Africa. It carries the scent of sand so fine it feels like flour on the tongue. The captain orders the sail reefed and deck gear stowed. He says a sirocco can twist into a gale without warning, even in harbor. We sleep on deck beneath a loose awning. The wind rattles rope ends against spar and mast, but no storm comes. Instead, the air grows heavy and still, as though the island is holding its breath. At dawn, on the third day, repairs are complete. The waterline is scrubbed clean. Seams shine with fresh pitch. We take on figs, almond cakes, and 2 barrels of sweet Commandaria wine. The captain swears it sells for thrice the price in Acre. As the last gangplank is drawn, the old Greek monk from the spring appears on the quay. He holds up a hand and prays in a language I do not know. When he finishes, he tosses a sprig of fresh basil onto the deck. It lands at my feet, bright green, against dark planks. The scent is strong, sharp, alive. I tuck it beside the lavender and the island soil, my growing garden of small blessings. The galley slides out of Limassol, under a sky the color of polished copper. Dolphins arc ahead, silvering the water. Out on the beam, flying fish rise, their glass fins catching the light before skimming back into the sea. The island dwindles to a pale line. A single cypress on a headland is the last shape to fade. By afternoon, the open Levant basin surrounds us, calm and wide as a merchant's ledger. The captain plots a course east-southeast toward Acre. He says favorable currents will carry us like a hand on the back. I lean against the rail, fingers on the warm basil leaves, and think of the girl in the citrus grove. The monks chant, the pomegranates stain. Cypress falls behind like a quiet dream, but the scent of oranges stays in my throat, and I know it will visit my sleep far out on the next sea. A faint brown haze greets us long before the land itself appears. The sailors say that haze is Acre, a cloak of dust always rising from its stables and markets. By late morning, the city shows, first a grey smear on the pale water, then a line of walls, square towers, and the thin white needle of a minaret. The water grows busier. Small fishing dhows drift like sleeping gulls. Pilgrim cogs, their sails bleached and patched, crawl toward the harbor mouth. Our captain lowers the sail, and the oarsmen take up a slow pull, so we do not ram some poor boat that cannot turn. The harbor gates are twin stone jaws. Crosses are carved on one tower, crescents on the other, a warning and a welcome together. Above, pennants snap in a wind that smells of myrrh, smoke, and camel dung. As we slip inside, voices echo off the walls, Greek, Arabic, Old French, all blend into a single restless hum. Watermen in small skiffs shout offers to guide us to moorings. Our captain waves off 3, takes the 4th, a wiry boy with henna-red hair, who swears his tie posts are the safest and cheapest. We nudge between 2 larger hulks. Chains clank, deckhands loop thick lines around iron rings sunk into the key. The heel settles with a sigh, as though grateful no wave will throw it again today. Rowers stretch sore backs. Some kiss small lead saints they wear on cords around their necks. I feel the basil leaves in my pouch, still cool and fragrant. I touch them in thanks. The harbor is a feast for the eyes. On one deck, men unload bales of Indian cotton stamped with blue lotus flowers. On another, Syrian potters stack tall jars painted with gold Arabic verses. A line of shaggy Armenians leads pack mules heavy with raw silk still smelling of the worm shed. A French knight in a patched surcoat sits on a crate, staring at nothing, lips moving in silent prayer. His steel gauntlets catch the sun so brightly it hurts to look. Father hires a porter, a stout Nubian with silver rings in each ear. The man slings our chests onto a yoke, as if they weigh no more than bread baskets. We follow him through a wooden gate and into the Genoese quarter. Streets are narrow, roofed by balconies where rugs hang like bright tongues. Above, white doves perch on cracked lintels, cooing over the clatter below. Heat presses down. My linen sticks to my skin as though I have bathed in glue. Spices ride the air, cinnamon, cumin, pepper, cloves. Each breath a new merchant's stall, a boy. Sails cooled rosewater by the sip. I hand him a Venetian denaro. He pours a trickle onto my tongue. It feels like drinking liquid petals. We stop at an inn run by a Languedoc widow. She speaks rough Italian. For 3 copper coins, she gives us shade beneath a woven reed awning and bowls of lentil stew. The lentils are soft as butter. The broth is thick with garlic and coriander. Flies gather at the bowl's rim. I fan them off with a scrap of parchment. Uncle, always ready to trade, asks the widow where one hires good camels. She nods toward the city gate and says, "Find Hassan with the green turban. His beasts walk like dancers. But first we must deliver letters to the papal legate, Brother William of Tripoli." The inn widow points us uphill toward the Citadel Square. The streets widen as we climb. Stones underfoot change from rough basalt to smooth limestone worn by pilgrim feet. Date palms rise inside courtyard walls. Fronds whisper like hidden fountains. The sun turns the city white and hard, but each doorway leaks cooler air smelling of lime wash. We pass a group of Templar knights drilling recruits. Their sergeant barks orders in French. The recruits' shields knock together with a hollow drum sound. The legate's house is a modest stone building inside a walled garden of figs. 2 Franciscan friars guard the gate. They wear brown robes the color of old bread crust. Father explains our mission. One friar fetches Brother William. The legate appears, thin and tall, his beard streaked with grey, eyes quick like a falcon's. He greets us in Latin, then switches to near-perfect Venetian, having studied in Padua long ago. We are ushered into a shaded loggia, where cool water drips from a clay jar into a basin. Brother William offers seats on low stools and pours water sweetened with mulberry syrup. It tastes dark and earthy, a relief after the spice-scorched air. Father presents the sealed letters from the Pope, wrapped in waxed cloth. William turns each envelope, studying the leaden seals that bear St. Peter's keys. He nods, satisfied, and slips them into a cedar chest. He asks about our route. Uncle describes the plan. Acre to Ayas by ship, then over the Cilician gates across Persia, aiming for Hormuz. William presses fingers together, thinking. He warns of Turkmen raids near the Taurus passes. Better to wait for a larger caravan, he suggests. He writes 2 letters of safe conduct, one addressed to the Armenian king in Sis, one to the emir of Tabriz, both men friendly to Latin merchants. He adds his own small seal, a cross inside a circle, while Father and William trade news of Rome. I study the loggia. Vines twist up one column, tiny white blossoms drop petals that fall like paper snow onto patterned tiles. The garden beyond hums with bees. A servant walks barefoot among fig trees, tipping clay jugs of water onto their roots. Each splash is a quiet drum. Conversation turns to the great Khan. Brother William's eyes sharpen. He has never traveled so far east, but has read every report that reaches Acre. He questions us about Mongol customs, language, faith. Uncle admits we know little, which seems to please the legate. More room, he says, for wonder. William speaks of the Khan's tolerance, of Nestorian priests at his court, of rumors that the Khan may welcome Christians. Father listens, hopeful. At last William rises, fetches a small wooden box, and removes 3 thin silver crosses, each no bigger than my thumb. A gift for the road, he says, pressing one into my palm. Touch it when fear presses back. The silver is cool despite the heat. I add it to the pouch with soil, lavender, basil, orange rind. My collection grows, a private reliquary of scents and talismans. We thank the legate and step into the street. The afternoon sun blazes white. The air quivers. Cats sleep in doorways, tails twitching in dreams. Porters chant as they haul bales toward the citadel granaries. We return downhill to the inn, arrange payment to store our sea chests, and haggle with Hassan of the green turban. His camels do indeed walk like dancers. Hips swing smooth, heads high. Father pays for 3 mounts and 2 handlers. That evening, light fades from blue to amber to rose. The harbor sings with 1,000 voices. Sailors mending nets, hawkers selling fried squid, women grinding sesame into tahini, with stone pestles that thud in steady rhythm. I wander the quay. A Syrian storyteller gathers a circle of children and pilgrims. He tells of Al-Qidr, the green prophet who guides wanderers. His voice is rough yet gentle, threading Arabic and French like twin yarns. Lanterns hang from poles, their flames small and brave against the wide dark. I rest on a bale of cotton and watch the stars appear. The air smells of tar, cardamom tea, and cooling stone. Somewhere, a lute plucks a lazy scale. I repeat our next towns in my mind like prayer beads: Ayas, Sis, Tabriz, Yazd, Hormuz. Each name glints, a stepping stone over a river of night. When I lie down on the inn's flat roof to sleep, pigeons coo in nearby eaves. The stone beneath holds the day's warmth. It seeps into my bones. I close my eyes and feel Acre shift. Voices soften, lanterns dim, the city breathing slow. In that breath, I sense the road ahead, vast and patient, waiting for our first footfall. I touch the silver cross, the basil leaf, and let the hum of distant water lull me toward dreams of sand and starlight. The morning we quit Acre, the harbor wind carries a thin spice-scented fog that clings to beard and sleeve. Hassan's 2 camel handlers lead our little caravan. 3 brown dromedaries for father, uncle and me. 2 pack animals stacked with chests, water skins, and a barrel of sweet wine. Father insists will trade well in Sis. The beasts bob their small heads, as if already counting each deadline mile. Their padded feet slap the stone wharf with soft, wet thuds, a rhythm that will soon replace the thrum of oars in my ears. A coastal cog ferries us 30 leagues north to Ayas, the Armenian port also called Layatso. The ship is low-decked, its cargo hold brimmed with bales of cotton and casks of indigo. The captain, a broad Genoese with a broken nose, says pirates rarely trouble this stretch. King Leo of Cilicia hangs raiders in iron cages from the harbor tower. Whether this is true or not, the story walks the deck like a watchman, keeping fear at bay. Ayas greets us with sharp cries of gulls and the smell of pitch. The harbor tower is indeed crowned with rusted cages, though all are empty save for scraps of gull nest. Wooden cranes squeal as they swing baskets of pepper ashore. A trumpeter on the battlements toots 3 short notes and a long. The port signal for new ship, likely peaceful. Father pays the harbor toll in byzants. We lead our camels through a red arch gate into a town of timber warehouses and stone churches striped with dark pumice. At the king's customs house, a scribe tallies our trade goods: wool, scarlet dye, a barrel of glass beads no heavier than tears. He stamps a wax tag for each chest. The tag bears the Armenian lion and a cedar tree. A pretty seal I slide into my journal for memory. A young guard in chainmail notices my curiosity and grins. "Write that lion kind, Venetian," he says. He watches merchants but seldom bites. We spend 2 nights in Ayas to join a larger caravan bound for Sis, capital of the Armenian kingdom. Sis rides a limestone hill like a stone ship. Its walls are honey-colored, pocked with arrow slits. Below, orchards of pomegranate and apple bloom in the dry air. We climb the winding road at dusk, hooves clopping on worn basalt. Gatekeepers test each camel's burden with iron rods, tapping for hollow cavities where smugglers hide gems. Hassan swears our loads are clean. The guards wave us through and wish us calm skies. Inside the walls, alleys twist between houses, built half from wood, half from the rock they stand on. Braziers glow at doorways, burning cedar chips that give off a sweet, clean smoke. Children chase each other with reed whistles. We lodge at the Hospitaller Khan, a square courtyard hemmed by two-story arcades. Templar and Genoese traders slump beside Frankish barrels, sharing honeymead and gossip. Their talk crackles with the names of distant battles: Acre, Tripoli, Antioch. Each a battlefield that still bleeds coin and rumor. Next noon, a herald in red tabard enters the Khan to announce that King Leo holds court for foreign merchants. Father and uncle, dressed in their best wool tunics, stitched with subtle stripes, Venetian discretion. I wear plain grey, but polish my leather belt and comb wind-snarled hair. The throne room smells of beeswax and warm bread. King Leo sits in a high-backed chair, carved with lions whose paws rest on captive eagles. His crown is modest, a circlet of gold wired with pearls. He asks Father about Venice. Father speaks of the Doge, the canals, the great arsenal. Leo laughs softly, saying water roads sound safer than mountain passes. When uncle presents the legate's letter, the king's mood shifts from cordial to attentive. He orders an officer to provide us with an escort of 5 mounted lancers as far as the Cilician gates, the narrow gorge that cleaves the Taurus mountains. Bandits grow bold when the snows begin to melt, he explains. Take my men. You will pay me back with stories when you return a rich man from Cathay. Father bows low, promising rich tales. We leave Sis before dawn 2 days later. The night air smells of damp stone and rosemary. The lancers ride ahead on stocky Anatolian horses, chain shirts jingling. Their spears carry small red flags that flick like tongues. Our camels follow, heads bobbing, breath steaming in the chill. The Lady Moon hangs thin and sharp above the ridge, her silver light outlining every rock. The road narrows where limestone cliffs squeeze the sky to a ribbon. This is the Cilician Gate, the same pass Alexander took when he chased Darius east. A rivulet threads the bottom, its water the color of old copper. Roman paving stones, cracked and weed-fringed, show under loose gravel. On a ledge above, broken watchtowers squat like blind giants, their windows empty of flame. Halfway through the gorge, we meet a caravan coming west, Persian donkeys laden with pistachios and dried apricots. Their driver warns of falling stones ahead. Spring thaw has loosened the cliff. The leader of our Armenian escort thanks him, then raises a small brass horn and blows 2 sharp blasts. Echoes bounce between the walls. A hawk bursts from an unseen nest and wheels into blue sky. The lancers spread out, eyes scanning the ledges. Hassan urges the camels to keep a tight line. Father whispers a quick prayer. A cold gust sweeps the pass, bringing the smell of snow. Pebbles clatter down a steep chute. Then silence returns. We push on. The gorge widens. Sunlight spills over the heights and warms my shoulders. A ruined toll gate appears. Roman arches fallen. Only 2 pillars stand like lonely teeth. The Armenians say tolls were once paid in coin or prayer, whichever a traveler could spare. We leave a silent prayer and coins of sweat on our brows. Beyond the gate, the land tilts upward into the Anatolian plateau. Grasses the color of lion hide ripple under a restless wind. Here and there, a late snow tuft hides in shade. The lancers point to distant peaks, still white at their crowns. Brother mountains, they call them, one always holding up the other. We camp that night beside a stone caravanserai, whose walls glow peach in the dying sun. Its keeper charges 2 copper coins per camel. The courtyard smells of straw, stew, and wood smoke. A muezzin somewhere beyond calls the faithful to prayer. The sound drifts over stone like a veil. After supper, lentils thickened with goat fat. A Greek merchant named Melas uncorks an amphora of sweet retsina. He tells tales of dragons in Cappadocia, of monks who hollow churches inside fairy chimneys, their walls painted sky blue and gold. I picture such caves lit by oil lamps and wonder if dragons prefer the dark or the candle flame. Sleep is easy beneath the high plateau sky. Stars crowd so close they seem to whisper. I lie on my blanket, basil crumbled near my nose, lavender tucked beneath the ear, and let the thin mountain air lull my chest into slow, deep rhythm. Days follow a steady heartbeat. Rise at dawn, bread and dried figs, saddle camels, climb gentle grades, rest at midday in the thin shade of scattered poplars, then tramp until twilight when we find another mud brick khan or wind-shielded hollow. Each evening new travelers melt into our road, Siva's sheep herders, Persian silk brokers, Nestorian monks with thick beards and quiet eyes. Everyone trades news. We learn of a fresh Mongol tax in Tabriz, of a plague of locusts near Mardin, of a comet seen over Lake Van, seen as a sword in the sky. At the town of Kayseri, Caesarea of old, our Armenian escort turns back. We thank them. Their leader refuses coin and asks only we commend him to Venice if ever we speak of Cilician hospitality. We press on eastward with a mixed band. 2 Persian traders bound for Tabriz, an elderly Syrian doctor seeking manuscripts in Maraga, and a lonely Cuman archer hired for his bow. The road skirts the edge of a dried salt lake. Cracked earth gleams white under the sun. Mirages dance like distant water that melts when we near. Even the camels grow uneasy, noses lifting to test the parched wind. One slips on crusted salt. I stroke its neck until its heartbeat steadies. That night we camp on a low rise. The salt flats shimmer under moonlight, ghostly as a frozen sea. The Syrian doctor points out constellations unknown to me. The maiden on the hill, the 7 foxes, names carried east along Arabic star charts. He explains that the sky is a great map, its lines truer than any drawn by man. I copy the foxes into my journal, though my hand trembles in the chill. Frost dusts the camel packs at dawn. We huddle close to a dung fire, sipping thin tea, sweetened with pine resin. Hassan jokes that the camels prefer snow to sand. They wear fur coats year-round. By midday, the road climbs again into low hills dotted with juniper. We pass ruined Seljuk caravanserais, their walls pocked by thieves who dug for treasure and found only dust. The eastern gate welcomes us with a bough of sun-bleached cedar. Beyond it, Tabriz blooms out of the dust like a tapestry come alive. Caravan bells jangle, dogs bark, and a chorus of market criers rises in waves so gentle I feel I am already floating on the vast inland sea of Asia. The garrison lets us pass after a cursory search. 3 Mongol riders in lamella cuirasses, silent but for the hiss of reins through their gauntlets. Father whispers that the Il Khan's banners still fly here. Proof that the great Khan's reach truly stretches this far. Street after street glitters with wares. Rolled silk the hue of crushed pomegranate. Rough Turkic felt, copper trays polished bright as mirrors. The smell of roasting chickpeas mingles with the sharper bite of tanned goat hide. I hear Greek, Arabic, Persian, all entangled in price and promise. Yet every tongue hushes when a lean astronomer in indigo robes crosses the square to adjust the brass armillary sphere set atop a low platform. He realigns a pointer toward the midday sun as if winding the sky itself. Children stand on tiptoe to watch. I find my own gaze lifted, instinctively tracing the invisible arc from horizon to zenith. A year ago, such studies would have seemed idle. Now they feel like stepping stones to the realms ahead. We lodge in a brick caravanserai near the spice quarter. Its courtyard is cool, paved in worn basalt slabs. A square pool sits at the center, reflecting an apricot-colored sky. Uncle Maffeo negotiates for feed, while father and I unpack the wine barrel, relief flooding his features when not a drop has leaked. Beside us, a grizzled merchant from Samarkand fingers our silk samples, nodding in polite approval. He speaks of routes east, roads paved in salt, rivers that freeze without warning, bandits who ride under a silver wolf standard. His stories feather the back of my neck with equal parts dread and excitement. That night, on the flat roof of the inn, I lie beneath a brilliance of unfamiliar stars. The air is thin, fragrant with distant fires and crushed meadow mint. Somewhere below, a Sufi flute sighs a slow, circling melody. I close my eyes and picture the map drawn on parchment at father's desk back home, its blank eastern half suddenly swelling with color. In my mind's eye, road lines lengthen, curling toward a great walled city called Shangdu. I have never seen a palace, yet already I feel its pull, as steady as the turning heavens above me. Sleep comes gently, and with it, the roads whisper, "Father, always Father." The desert waits, and beyond it, the roof of the world. Tomorrow, we start again. The gate steward stamps our entry tablets just after sunrise. His bronze seal leaves a perfect wolf's head in the wax. A reminder that this city stands under the Ilkhan's claw. Inside the walls, the air smells of bread ash and morning dew. I guide my camel toward the main caravanserai, its brick arch wide enough for 2 loaded wagons to pass abreast. Pigeons whirl in a white cloud above the courtyard before settling on the tiled eaves. Their wings scatter tiny drops from the last night's rain, and those drops catch the early light like sparks. We make camp beside a narrow pool lined with green and black pebbles. A sycamore leans over the water, its first yellow leaves floating like little boats. Father tells me the pool is fed by a spring that has never failed. Not even during the year the sky withheld its rain. As the beasts kneel and fold their long legs, steam rises from their coats, the way mist lifts from the canals of Venice at dawn. I swallow a crust of barley bread and a wedge of salty goat cheese, then set out alone with a slate and charcoal in my pouch. I want to map the city lines while my head is fresh. The streets run like rivers between clay banks of mud brick, each bend offering a new scent. Sweet figs, sharp vinegar, wet wool laid out on racks. I note how the lanes converge on a great vaulted hall at the heart of the bazaar. It is said the hall is as old as the first Seljuk sultans and as large as a knight's training field. Yet in the half-light, it feels larger still. Shafts of sun pierce high windows and turn drifting flower dust into hanging banners of gold. My steps echo under the dome and mingle with the murmurs of traders counting coppers by finger flicks. At one stall, a young woman sells skeins of raw silk, the color of river ice. She twists a thread around my thumb so I can feel its strength. "Mulberry leaves and patient worms," she says with a quick grin. Her father sits in the shade, eyes half closed, trusting her to bargain. She names a price. I shake my head. We dance the numbers down and down until both of us smile in victory and defeat at once. The thread is mine, and she tosses in a walnut-dyed blue by indigo to show good faith. I tuck the silk inside my pouch beside the slate. Maps and silk. It seems the two things may shape my future. A roar of looms pulls me deeper into the bazaar. Here the carpet weavers rule like quiet kings. 20 men sit in a long row, legs folded, hands moving in tiny flicks that place each knot. From afar, the rows of wool look like a field of colored grass rippling in wind. Up close, I see each knot is a single decision. Bring the thread forward, cut it clean, tamp it flat with the comb. The master weaver explains that every carpet carries a secret poem only the knots can read. By the time I step away, the image of the swirling vine pattern has etched itself behind my eyes. Near midday, the heat thickens, and I follow a line of porters toward the perfume quarter. Here, brass incense burners hiss like tiny dragons, releasing curls of smoke that smell of cedar, myrrh, and dried rose petals. A Persian youth offers a vial of something called sun water that is said to cool anger. He tips a single drop onto my wrist. It feels cold as river stone, even under the high sun. I ask its price, and he laughs. More than a camel's saddle, less than the saddle blanket. Father would enjoy such riddles, but I press on. In the shadow of the Jama Mosque, astronomers sell instruments, astrolabes, quadrants, sighting tubes bound in polished walnut. I pick up an astrolabe almost as wide as my open hand. Its brass plates carry numbers and stars scratched so fine they look sewn. The vendor, an Uzbek with skin the hue of burnished copper, explains how the movable rete marks the sky at any hour. He sets the pin at my birth month, September, and tilts the disc toward the sun. A dot of light passes through the hole and lands on the latitude line. 40 degrees and a whisper more, he says. This is where your feet stand, young Venetian. Remember the number? It is the city's secret face. I pay 2 silver coins, half for the lesson and half for the chance to dream. Late in the day, Father finds me beyond the spice arcade. He smells of pepper dust and satisfaction. We shipped our wine barrel, he says, for twice what we dared hope. Uncle Mafio joins us, arms weighed with folded damask. Together, we cross the square to the public bathhouse. Inside, olive oil lamps glow behind crystal screens, turning the steam into soft amber fog. We sink shoulder deep into a stone basin. My muscles sigh, and the water's warmth creeps into my lungs like a lullaby. 2 Armenian traders share news of the northern passes. One swears the snows came early. The other says a new toll station demands silver for every hoof. They argue gently until the steam steals their words. When we dress, my limbs feel loose as new rope. That evening, the sky clears to a sharpened blue. We climb the caravanserai roof, where a narrow parapet keeps watch over the city. The Uzbek astronomer arrives at dusk with a wooden tripod and a bronze tube no longer than my forearm. He adjusts a gear, then invites us to look. Through the glass, the moon is no longer a coin, but a cracked white shield dusted with ash. Around it hangs a faint ring of light. Ice in the high sky, the astronomer says. When that circle widens, storms ride its edge. Uncle Maffeo nods. Such signs guide sailors too. I study the ring and wonder what storms wait for us east of here. Soon a low horn calls from the gatehouse. A courier approaches. We lean over the parapet in time to see him ride in. His grey horse dark with sweat, hooves muffled with felt to keep the streets quiet. He carries a leather satchel sealed in red wax. The crowd parts as though the rider bears fire. Imperial dispatch, someone whispers. News for the Sultan, or news for the stars. Rumor grows faster than grain in flood time. Some say the letter summons astronomers to debate calendars before the Ilkhan. Others hear it, orders fresh levies for a war along the Oxus. Father's eyes glitter. Whatever the truth, he murmurs, it flows from the great Khan himself. We ride closer to his shadow than ever before. Night settles and lanterns bloom along the bazaar like floating fruit. A flute carries a slow melody over the rooftops. On the courtyard tiles, merchants set low tables and share bowls of rice sweetened with figs. I join them and learn the taste of saffron steeped in goat's milk, sweet and earthy. A Baluchi trader describes desserts so vast the horizon bends. A Georgian archer says the Khan stables house horses that drink wine. Truth or tale, it all fans the flame inside my chest. I sleep that night on the flat roof beside the pool of starlight. Dreams carry me east over yellow plains and frozen rivers. I wake once to coyote howls beyond the wall, then drift again into silence. Our last dawn in Tabriz arrives wrapped in a thin veil of dust. We load the camels and drink a cup of clove tea. The Uzbek astronomer brings me a small copper coin stamped with a running deed. Keep it, he says. It reminds wanderers that speed alone is not the measure of the journey. I bow in thanks and slip the coin beside the silk skein from the weaver girl. As the gate opens, I look back at the tile roof shining under the newborn sun. The courier's grey horse stands saddled in the square, ready to race north with fresh orders. The air hums with news we will never hear, yet we move on. The desert is calling. We ride single file past fields of wheat bleached almost white. At the edge of that pale sea, the earth changes to salt, flat, hard, and dazzling. The city's voices fall away, until only the creak of saddle leather and the hiss of the morning wind remain. Ahead, the horizon quivers like a line drawn in quicksilver. Tabriz shrinks behind us, but its lessons stay, carpets, stars, and the silent language of rumor. Father turns in the saddle and grins like a man who has glimpsed treasure. I grin back. We both sense what lies before us is greater than anything we leave behind. The road tilts east and the sun climbs, and the day, our longest yet, begins. At dawn, the last yellow wheat stalks bow behind us and the world turns white. A crust of salt stretches out in all directions, flat as water, bright as hammered tin. I squint until tears sting my lids, but the horizon floats, refusing to settle. Father ties a strip of wet cloth across my eyes to soften the glare. Remember the lagoon in winter, he says. Find calm water in your thoughts. Yet this landscape is the opposite of water. Solid, unyielding, barren of sound. The air is dry enough to crack lips in a single hour. Uncle Mafio passes a goatskin. The water tastes of leather and iron, but we sip in silence, counting each swallow. Hassan's two camel men drape their heads in indigo cloth and chant under their breath, a low drone to mark time. Their camels fare best. Flat feet glide over salt like barges over calm sea. Our European pack horses stumble, hooves sliding on crust that shatters with a brittle pop. The animal's eyes film with dust. I whisper to my gelding, promise him shade that does not yet exist. By mid-morning, heat ripples from the ground in twisting veils. Shapes bloom along the edge of vision. Stand after stand of blue that looks like distant sea. The first time I point it out, Hassan laughs softly. Mirage, he says. A mirror made by the sun. Chase it, and you chase your own thirst. Still, every new shimmer tugs at me like a rope. My mind fashions cool lagoons, marble fountains, even the Grand Canal where gulls glide. Yet, when we reach the place, nothing but cracking crust greets us. Father keeps the day's march measured. 40 paces walking, 10 paces resting astride the saddle. Repeat. He claims this rhythm protects heart and mount alike. I fall into the pattern until steps become thoughts, and thoughts evaporate. The desert grants a curious peace. Nothing superfluous survives here, not even worry. If you manage breath, water, direction, you're rich. If you neglect them, no coin can ransom you. At noon we break beside a low rise of baked clay where 2 tamarisk bushes cling to life. Their pale green needles quiver, though I feel no wind. Hassan stabs his staff into the crust and listens to the hollow echo. The salt is thin here, he says. There is real ground beneath, and ground may hold a little coolness. We lay carpets and share a handful of dried dates rolled in sesame. The shade of the tamarisk is no wider than a man's hand, yet we huddle beneath it as if it were a towering cypress. Heat shivers in waves. The air itself smells scorched, like copper set on coals. I recall Venice's humid summers when distant thunder promised rain by dusk. Here the sky is an upturned kiln, cloudless, flawless, merciless. In the afternoon, a pale ridge rises, broken by 3 sandstone pillars that look carved yet are only wind-worn. They form a kind of gate. Beyond it, the ground changes texture. Long, low ridges, called yardangs, curved like sleeping sea serpents. Our caravan weaves between them. The wind whistles over the ridges and dips into troughs, cool for the breath of a breath before heat slams back. Close to sunset, a smell of sulfur pricks the air. Hassan raises a hand, fumaroles ahead. Soon stunted chimneys appear, releasing thin curls of yellow vapor that swim upward, then vanish. Uncle grimaces. These craters can swallow a cart, he warns. We skirt the field, stepping carefully. The crust here sounds hollow. Each camel's pad sinks a finger's breadth, then rises crusted white. I picture the horses breaking through, swallowed whole by boiling mud hidden beneath. Light fades quickly. The salt plain turns lavender, then bruised purple. We make camp on a ridge of cracked mud high enough to avoid night fogs. The guides swear creep low and dampen gear till morning. I hammer my tent stakes into ground that rings like fired pottery. Dinner is sparse. Flatbread soft as parchment, a heel of cheese, 1 fig each. Hassan brews tea from dried desert thyme. Its bitter vapor feels medicinal, reviving. Night in the salt desert surprises me. I expected silence, but instead hear constant clicks, salt crystals cooling, crust flexing. Stars ignite overhead, fierce and white. The Milky Way is a river of powdered pearl. I lie on my back outside the tent. The salt at my shoulder blades cool now, and trace constellations father learned from the Uzbek stargazer. The archer, the scorpion, the 3 goats. Somewhere among those points is north. Somewhere far beyond, the great Khan's palace glitters. Between here and there opens an ocean of land. Dream is shallow, broken by thirst. Each time I wake, I rinse my mouth with 1 spoon of water, then swallow. Discipline, drilled by father. Toward false dawn, a faint glow pulses at the horizon. I fear wildfire. Hassan assures me it is the planet Venus rising. Within the hour that glow brightens to copper, then gold. We break camp quickly, eager to walk before heat bars the road. Mid-morning, a dust devil appears, swirling 30 lengths high. It crosses ahead of us like a dancer, impossibly thin, impossibly swift. Sand hisses like rain on canvas as it passes. The horses shy, but the camels kneel calmly, hum low and rise only after the column collapses. Wind drops. Eerie stillness returns. Toward noon we glimpse black specks on the horizon. They bob in and out of mirage pools. Other travelers? Bandits. Uncle fingers the hilt of his dagger. Hassan studies the shapes, counts their number. 7, he says, and 2 pack beasts. Small trading party from Yazd, I think. As we draw near, the strangers wave, relief shaping their gestures. 2 caravans meeting in a desert is like 2 ships at sea. Enemies rarely travel so exposed. We exchange greetings in Persian and a little Turkic. They bring news. The road ahead crosses a strip of cracked clay where a spring once flowed but now lies poisoned by salt. 15 days back, a caravan drank and lost 12 goats. We pledged to skirt that valley. That night they camped beside us. I trade the last of our saffron sweet for their goat milk. Together, we sing half-remembered hymns beneath a sky loud with stars. One traveler, an elderly Kurd, tells of hearing a voice in the desert. Female, soft, promising cool shadow. He followed it into a ravine and nearly stepped off a 60-foot drop before moonlight saved him. The others laugh, but cross themselves or bow toward Mecca, depending on creed. I add the tale to my growing ledger of desert warnings. Mirage, heat, quick salt, and now voices. 3 days pass in similar rhythm. Break camp in cool dimness. Walk by the compass of the sun until heat drives us to crouch beneath camel saddles. Resume when shadows lengthen. Camp again under a web of stars. On the 4th evening, the ground tilts upward into low chalk hills, marbled with veins of rose quartz. In the last red light, the quartz glows like hidden embers. We dig shallow pits and place stones around them. The quartz holds heat after dark, warming our circle. Father teaches me to read the tiny fissures inside each crystal. Veins that once carried water long vanished. Inside we drink bowls of mint yogurt, thick and tart. The first swallow aches down my throat and makes my eyes water. Women in indigo robes spread carpets over packed earth. Children chase each other, laughing, cheeks flushed. Against one wall, jars of rose water cool in clay troughs. I splash a palmful across my face. The scent reminds me of Garden's father, once described in Constantinople. At dusk, the muezzin calls from a humble tower. The village lights tiny lamps along the lane. A Sufi musician sits cross-legged at the well and plucks a sitar. The notes fall soft as dust, but linger like perfume. Under such music, the desert's cruelty feels distant. A nightmare from which I have woken into gentle air. Before sleep, I write in my journal, "The desert is a mirror. It shows you only what you carry inside. Fear, thirst, wonder." I tuck the turquoise bowl beside my bedroll and listen to wind tumble through the chimneys. Inside those columns, it hums like distant surf. I close my eyes and find the sound of home inside a mud brick village hundreds of leagues from the lagoon. Tomorrow we ride east again, but tonight the desert gives us cool air and dreams that do not scorch. In the hush before dawn, I whisper a promise to the bowl of sky above. I will see the sea again, even if I must cross 100 more wastelands to reach it. Hassan bargains for dates, salt, and a sack of dried melon strips to sweeten the next leg. Father counts silver bars and notes trade rates in his ledger. Uncle Mafio finds a farrier for our flagging horses. I roam. My feet carry me into lanes so narrow. Two camels could never pass abreast. Overhead, latticed wooden bridges connect rooftops like hidden walkways. From one, a girl in a purple scarf sprinkles rose water to settle the dust. Drops land on my face, cool and fragrant. I taste summer in Venice for an instant. On the morning of the 7th day, the day Hassan swore we would reach Yazd, the air feels different, thicker. A faint breeze carries scent of something living. Not flowers, but life itself, green and wet. By noon, low shrubs appear, resilient shrubs with silver leaves that clatter when wind brushes them. Then a line of adobe watchtowers crests a ridge. Their upper slits glow like jack-o'-lantern eyes. Uncle laughs aloud. The horses whinny, sensing relief. We approach the towers. A sentry peers down, black beard dusty, eyes weary. Hassan calls out the name of our merchant group and swears we carry nothing forbidden. The gates creak open to reveal a village of windcatchers. Tall mud brick chimneys that gather any breeze, funnel it through wet cloth, and spill cool air into shaded rooms below. A miracle after days of furnace heat. Father records trade prices in his ledger. Uncle bargains for camel feed. I sit with a young potter who shows me a bowl glazed in turquoise, the color of summer sky over the lagoon. He mixes ground stone and copper filings to create the hue. Every color has a birthplace spice, he says. This one was born in a river under the mountains of Khorasan. I roll the bowl in my hands. Its glaze is smooth as river glass. I buy it with 2 silver coins and promise to carry it to the edge of the world unbroken. Later, we climb a roof to watch night settle like ink. The potter points out a pale band low in the west. Dust, he says. Caravans from Hormuz stirring the desert floor. My heart jumps. Hormuz is our next great waypoint. How many days? I ask. 12, if your beasts are strong, he replies. I glance at our weary horses, at the steadfast camels chewing cud. 12 more days of salt and mirage. The village gate opens on a pale ribbon of road that leads to Yazd, the city of wind. We leave just after first light. A weak crescent moon still hangs above the desert, fading as the east grows glassy pink. The earth drinks the last of the night's cool and exhales a damp breath that fogs the camel's nostrils. The smell is half dust, half crushed thyme. Each hoof step makes a soft crunch like breaking sugar crust. By mid-morning, the horizon lifts and shows the spindly forest of bajis, windcatchers, rising above Yazd's mud brick skyline. They look like square towers turned inside out, hollow throats eager for air. The nearer we ride, the more of them appear, some no higher than a minaret's balcony, others thick as castle keeps. Slanted wooden slats line their mouths, ready to snare even the faintest breeze and funnel it downward. Inside the outer rampart, the noise surprises me. I expected a sleepy caravan town, but Yazd seethes like a hive. Metal hammers ring, flour mills groan, blind singers chant prayers in doorways. Every sound carries upward through the windcatchers and pours into the open sky. It is as if the whole city has learned to breathe through clay lungs. We lodge at a caravanserai near the northern gate, an old square built of straw-studded adobe. Cool shadows pool under its arcades. A broad cistern at the center reflects the windcatcher that crowns the roof. The water looks black enough to swallow the sun, but when I dip a bowl, it is clear, surprisingly cold. The keeper explains that underground canals, long tunnels carved from the mountains, Bring snow melt here without letting a single drop meet daylight. The bazaar smells of saffron, wool grease, and hot copper. At a cloth stall, two boys swing wooden mallets against folded cotton, beating dust free. Deep inside an alley, a dye master stirs a cauldron of indigo, so dark it drinks the light. He dips a skein of silk, counts slow heartbeats, then lifts it. For a breath, the thread is green. Then air and sun coax blue from its fibers, as if revealing a secret. I pay 3 coppers for a finger-length sample. Tuck it beside the turquoise bowl. Toward dusk, Father leads me to a tall fire temple on a low hill. A Zoroastrian priest wearing a white mouth veil greets us. He motions for silence and guides us into a chamber where an eternal flame, small as a lantern yet steady as sunrise, burns behind bronze lattice. The air smells of cedar resin. The priest says the blaze has never gone out in 900 years. I think of Venice's lighthouse torches extinguished each dawn. This feels older, less a signal than a heartbeat. When we leave, Father presses 2 dirhams into the priest's palm. The priest bows and murmurs a blessing for safe roads. Night settles warm and velvet dark. Lamps dot rooftops like low stars. I climb the caravanserai stairs to the windcatcher deck. A soft draft goes from the tall shaft, smelling faintly of wet earth. It strokes my sweat-damp hair like a cool hand. I lie on a reed mat and watch constellations. Orion's belt leans west. The 7 sisters shimmer overhead. Someone below plays a santur, hammered notes that fall like silver beads. Sleep takes me swift and deep. At dawn, a knock on my door wakes me. Hassan strides in, eyes bright. "News from Hormuz," he says. "Caravans returning. Say pirates lurk near the islands. The sea route may yet be closed." Father frowns but shrugs. Then we keep to land as planned. The Khan did not summon us to turn back at rumor. Uncle agrees. Better dust than daggers, he says. We spend 2 more days gathering supplies. From a potter, I buy 6 porous clay water flasks that sweat coolness even under full sun. From a herbalist, I purchase dried rhubarb roots said to calm the belly. Father secures a letter of safe passage stamped with the governor's seal, 2 crossed arrows beneath a crescent. The fee is steep, but he pays. Road tolls double for those who lack such parchment. The last evening, a sandstorm looms north of the city. The sky turns copper, then bruised purple. Wind howls through the badges. The towers sing like giant flutes, each at a different pitch. Curtains flap in windows. Merchants hurry to roll shutters. Children herd goats into courtyards. Dust cloaks the moon. Inside the caravanserai courtyard, the cistern ripples, lit by lamps hung from arches. We lash canvas over pack saddles and wait. The storm skirts us, leaves only a thin veil of silt on every surface. By morning, the badgers are at work again, drawing clean air from a sky-scrubbed blue. We depart as soon as the last nail is set in the horseshoes. Streets empty at this hour. Only a baker's boy dozes by a window, arms dusted in flour. He starts when our caravan files past, then raises 2 fingers in salute. I return the sign and feel again that twinge. I'm leaving another brief home. Beyond the gate, fields of pistachio trees line an irrigation ditch. On both banks, tall windbreaks of tamarisk hush in the dawn. The air smells faintly of resin and salt. We follow a gravel track southeast. The potter's turquoise bowl rides wrapped in my cloak. The indigo silk thread coils in my pouch. The eternal flame's reflection seems to hover in my mind, a guiding ember, By noon, the green swath thins. Hills roll in soft beige waves. The land looks like raw bread dough left to rise, cracked on the surface. Father points at distant shimmering cliffs. Salt again, but easier than the Kavir. He promises. Hassan agrees. The Lut desert is drier, but holds oases if one knows where to look. I steady myself for more glare, more mirage, yet feel stronger for the rest Diaz gave us. That night we camp among low dunes where earth meets stony plain. No trees break the horizon. Instead, wind has carved ripples in the sand that glow pale gold under moonlight. We eat dates and barley soup sweetened with the melon strips. Father reads aloud a scrap of parchment the Zoroastrian priest pressed upon him. Verses about truthful speech and righteous action. The words flow clean as cannot water. Sleep is light. Coyotes yip in the distance. The camels huff softly, chew-cud. In dream, I walk through a hall of wind catchers turned upside down, their shafts delving into cool earth. At the deepest chamber stands the eternal flame, steady and waiting. We rise before dawn, shoulders stiff but hearts calm. The camels kneel, we load them, we mount. As the first rim of sun lifts, I turn for a last glimpse of Yazd. The badgirs stand like thin sails against a pale sky, catching breezes I can no longer feel. Their wooden veins shine gold for one instant, then glare, swallows their glow. The road curves east and tips downward toward a vast plain. Somewhere across that emptiness lies the Gulf of Hormuz, ships with bright sails and perhaps northbound passages to the Khan. Our shadows stretch long before us on the gravel, walking faster than we ever can. I follow mine, thinking of air turned to water, of fire that never sleeps, of a promise whispered to a bowl of turquoise. The desert accepts us again. Wind erases our footprints. The journey continues. Eastward, always eastward. One breath and one hoofbeat at a time. The foothills southeast of Yazd rise at first so gently, I do not notice we are climbing until the air thins and the camels breathe harder. The ground shifts from bleached gravel to rust-red scree, threaded with veins of green stone. Copper ore, Hassan says, good for coin and poison alike. Our road is an old one, paved in places with worn basalt blocks left by forgotten kings. On the third day, we pass the ruins of a fire temple, toppled by time and the tremors of the earth. Only the altar remains, a blackened bowl filled with wind-blown sand. Uncle Maffeo drops a coal from our breakfast fire in its center. The ember dies in a sigh of ash, its heat gone before it lands. Beyond the pass, the world tilts downward. Far ahead, a smoky blue line smudges the horizon. The Gulf, Hassan confirms. He smiles as though greeting a long-lost friend. I smell it hours before I see water. Salt, kelp, something metallic like wet anchor chain. The horses quicken, sensing the promise of wide flats and easier going. We reach Kerman at dusk on the 10th day. The city clings to the slope of a long ridge, its houses stacked like clay boxes, each catching the last red of the sun. We trade the indigo thread for 15 goat hides, tanned soft as cloth. Father says they will fetch a fine price in Hormuz. In the bazaar, a Baluchi tinsmith hammers plates thin as parchment. Sparks jump like fireflies with each stroke. He tells of pirates thick as reeds off the Persian coast, crews who fly no banner and melt into islands when chased. Father and uncle exchange a look. The sea road may truly be closed. South of Kerman, the land flattens to a plain of cracked earth broken by thorn acacias. The air grows heavy, damp, sweat no longer vanishes on my skin. It beads and drips. Flies circle the camel's eyes. At noon, heat lies on the road like a weight. Even the wind is warm as bathwater. We march at dawn and dusk, resting under lean-to tents through the worst hours. Nights bring luminous moths that flutter around our lamps until wings burn in the flame. I learn to shield the wick with my hands so fewer creatures perish. 3 days out we cross the Halil River, a thin rope of muddy water edged with date palms. Children wade knee-deep, casting nets for fish no longer than a finger. One girl offers me a woven basket filled with pale yellow fruit. I taste one, sweet as honey, its flesh soft like warm butter. She laughs at my surprise, then runs off, basket still half full. Signs of the coast multiply. Gulls wheel overhead. Air carries calls unlike any desert bird. Dawn of the 12th day reveals distant sails, triangular, crimson, sliding along a silver band that can only be water. We press on, spirits lifting with each hoofbeat. Hormuz is no city at first glance, but a confusion of tents, warehouses, and masts. From afar, the harbor looks like a stand of dead trees rooted in the Gulf. As we draw closer, colors explode. Striped canvas awnings, carved prow posts, painted turquoise and ochre, heaps of indigo dye drying in the sun. The air teems with sound, creak of rigging, slap of waves, shouts in Arabic, Persian, Gujarati, Swahili. The smell overwhelms, fish guts, sandalwood smoke, camel dung, cloves, bodies, tar. We thread through a maze of stalls where pearl merchants hold oysters up to the light, testing for hidden gems. Father pauses at a table laden with Chinese porcelain. Bowls so thin you see your hands shadow through them. He haggles for 2 blue and white cups, pays in goat hides, and a silver coin bearing the Ilkhan's visage. He offers me a cup, but I shake my head. The turquoise bowl is already burden enough. At the harbor master's office, a scribe in dyed red linen confirms the worst. No safe passage east by sea. A Malay fleet sailed a month past and vanished. Last sighted near Keshm Island, amid black sails and drifting wreckage. The Gulf is hungry this season, the scribe says, eyes dark with warning. Father thanks him, turns away. In his gaze I read a storm of calculation, loss of time, risk of deserts, but also stubborn resolve. That night we camp on a spit of sand beyond the harbor. Ships' lanterns glitter on the black water like fallen stars. Waves whisper, a soothing cadence after weeks of dry hiss. I walk the shoreline barefoot, warm foam curling around my ankles. Across the dark water, the island of Hormuz rises. Low, barren, crowned by a fort's jagged shadow. Somewhere beyond that lies India. And beyond India, the seas of Cathay. I understand for the first time how vast the world is. How frail one caravan appears against oceans and empires. Father joins me, hands clasped behind his back. The land route was always likelier, he says. The Khan's roads are safe enough, they say. We press northeast at dawn. I nod, strangely relieved. The sea is beautiful, but unknowable. The road, at least, offers solid ground. We spend 2 days reshoeing camels and horses, trading hides for cotton robes better suited to humid heat, filling every spare skin with fresh water. Uncle hires 2 new guides, Balok brothers, who claim to know every dry well, every bandit den between here and the plateau. They carry curved daggers of wood steel and smile rarely. On the last evening, I sit on the breakwater and watch sailors mend a lateen sail by torchlight. One sings a song I cannot understand. The melody rises and falls like a tide. I close my eyes and let the song carry me. When I open them, the sail is whole again, stitched like new skin over an old wound. At dawn we ride out, turning our backs on the glittering gulf. The salty wind follows a while, then dies. Ahead lie mountains bruised purple, their peaks stealing the sun. The guides say a green valley waits beyond, cool rivers fed by snowmelt. I picture that valley, store its promise like water in my heart. The road tilts upward once more, and we climb into silence. Grey light seeps over the ridge, soft as milk spilled on slate. I stand beside our resting camels in a cramped yard outside the village of Sirjan, last stop before the great ascent into Kerman Plateau. The animals breathe slow, clouds of vapor rising from their nostrils. Nearby, Father wraps his ledger in oiled cloth, slips it into a saddlebag. Uncle sharpens the edge of his short sword with quiet strokes. The night's dream lingers, a map unrolling beneath my feet, roads glowing like threads of gold across empty darkness. Each step I took wove new lines, until the darkness itself became a tapestry of paths. I wake with the feeling that travel is not passage through space but through possibilities. A rooster cries, ragged and proud. Lanterns flicker out one by one as guards snuff their wicks. The world smells of damp straw, sweat, faint jasmine from a garden hidden beyond the wall. Above, a single planet still shines, pale, steadfast. I touch the copper deer coin the Uzbek astronomer gave me, trace its running legs. Speed alone is not the journey, he said. I breathed that lesson. Hassan appears, pours tea the color of amber into battered tin cups. The steam rises in thin spirals, catching first dawn's glow. He hands a cup to each of us, murmurs the Bismillah. The tea tastes of cardamom and smoke, a flavor of rose. A distant gong sounds. The village gate opening. Traders shuffle out, Persian wool sellers, a Kurdish family driving goats, a lone Chinese monk with a bundle strapped to his back. Each face is set toward an unseen horizon. We nod to one another, shared understanding in the silence. Father mounts first, settles into the worn leather saddle. He turns and offers me a hand. I grasp it, swing up behind him onto my own mount. Uncle leads, guides close behind. The caravan file slips through the gate into dawn's grey wash. I look back once. The yard is empty, lanterns cold, only footprints left in churned mud. Beyond those prints lies the gulf, the islands, the ships we did not board. Regret flickers, then fades like ember in wind. Ahead, mountains etch a darker line against brightening sky. We ride in silence, hooves muffled on packed earth. Sunlight edges the peaks, touches the highest ridge with gold. I breathe deep, desert dust, cold stone, the faint promise of pine. Somewhere beyond those peaks lies the plateau. Then more deserts, rivers, walls of a great empire, and a Khan whose face I have yet to see. Birds wheel overhead, catching new thermals. The turquoise bowl in my pack clings softly against my water skin. A reminder of oases behind and seas ahead. I pat the pouch, silk thread, deer coin, bowl, tokens of places already behind us. The road turns east and east again. Sun climbs, shadows shorten, wheels of a passing cart sing over stones, a gentle rhythm that merges with camel bells. I match my breath to the bell beat. In that steady cadence, the world seems simple. One step, another. A chain unbroken from Venice to sunrise over unknown lands. I taste the future like cool water on the tip of my tongue. The caravan rounds a bend, and the last view of the Gulf slips behind a shoulder of rock. No backward glance this time. I face the road and let the morning carry me forward. Eastward, always eastward, under a sky widening into pure blue. The first episode of my journey closes not with an ending, but with a beginning. The road rising to meet us, mile upon mile, as steady as breath.